I told my boss I needed a mental health day, and he forwarded my email to the entire leadership team with his comments included. I was sitting in my therapist's office, finally feeling calm for the first time in weeks, when my phone buzzed with 17 notifications. My stomach dropped before I even looked at the screen. My name is Adrian, and this is the story of how my boss's cruelty became the catalyst for the life I actually wanted to live. I'd been working at Meridian Financial for 6 years. I was a senior analyst, reliable, consistent, the guy who showed up even when he was sick. But for the past 3 months, I'd been drowning. My anxiety had escalated to the point where getting out of bed felt like climbing a mountain. My therapist had finally said what I needed to hear. Adrian, you need to start setting boundaries. You need to take care of yourself. So I did something I'd never done before. On a Thursday morning, I sent an email to my boss, Richard. Hi, Richard, I need to take a mental health day tomorrow. I've been struggling with anxiety and need to focus on my well-being. I'll be back on Monday refreshed and ready. Thank you for understanding. It was honest. It was professional. It was vulnerable in a way that still made my hands shake as I hit send. What I didn't expect was what happened next. Richard forwarded my email to the entire leadership team, the CEO, CFO, VP of Operations, and 12 other executives, with his own commentary. Here's another one taking a mental health day. We're getting a lot of these lately. Not sure what's happening with the younger generation, but this is what happens when you're too soft on employees. They think they can just check out whenever they want. Adrian's always been a bit fragile, so I'm not surprised. Let's discuss retention and expectations at the next leadership meeting. Richard. I found out when my colleague Jessica texted me a screenshot with the message. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. I read it 3 times, certain I was misunderstanding. Then I read it again. The betrayal was so complete, so public, that I felt physically ill. My phone rang. It was Richard. Adrian, I think we need to talk about your tone in that email. You're making it sound like work is making you sick. That's a liability issue for us. I couldn't speak. I literally couldn't form words. I'm going to need you to send a follow-up clarifying that you're fine, that it was just a momentary thing, and that you're committed to not taking any more unplanned time off. Can you do that? You forwarded my private email to the entire leadership team, I said quietly. Of course I did. You're discussing mental health at work. That's a company issue. No, I said. That's a private medical issue, and you violated my trust and my privacy. Richard's tone shifted. Let's not be dramatic. This is standard business practice. It wasn't, and we both knew it. I spent that night researching employee rights, HIPAA violations, HR regulations. By morning, I had the names of 3 employment lawyers. By afternoon, I'd scheduled consultations with all 3. What happened next was surreal. The first lawyer said I had a legitimate case, that forwarding a mental health disclosure to the entire leadership team without consent violated my privacy rights and created a hostile work environment. By day 3, Richard had been called into a meeting with HR. By day 5, they were offering me a severance package. But here's the thing. I didn't want their money. I wanted my life back. I declined the severance and instead negotiated something better. A mutual separation with a glowing letter of recommendation. Richard's signature on it, ironically. A month's salary and an agreement that they wouldn't contest my unemployment claim. For the first time in 6 years, I had breathing room. I took 2 weeks completely off work. No emails, no job hunting, no productivity, just healing. Real, actual healing. I increased my therapy to twice a week. I started exercising again. I reconnected with friends I'd neglected while drowning in corporate culture. Then I started job hunting, but differently this time. I looked for companies with actual mental health initiatives. I asked about work-life balance in interviews. I turned down offers that felt soul-crushing, even from prestigious firms. I landed at a mid-sized tech company where the CEO had openly discussed his own depression, where mental health days weren't coded language for weakness, they were legitimate self-care, where vulnerability was seen as strength, not liability. 6 months into my new job, I ran into Jessica at a coffee shop. How are you doing? She asked carefully. Better than I've been in years, I told her honestly. That email Richard sent, it was the worst thing that happened to me, but it was also the thing that forced me to finally choose myself. What I learned is that sometimes the people we trust betray us not out of malice, but out of their own limitations. Richard couldn't see mental health as legitimate because he'd spent his whole life pushing through pain instead of processing it. His cruelty was really just his own fear, weaponized. But here's what matters. I gotta decide what came next, and I chose myself. That's the real story. Not the betrayal, but the choice that followed.